Thank you. It's so good to be back, Bob. Uh-oh. Good morning, everyone. Good morning, everyone. I'm assuming we're good to go back there, yeah? Great. So good to see everyone. Good to be seen. I could say that because people have been asking me how my time away was, and if you have been around here during the month of July, I wasn't gone all that much. I just took a little break from the lessons so I could let my brain come back online, which was good, and I'm so grateful to be back here this morning. I'm just going to give you a little bit of a heads up. Melissa's our liturgist this morning, and I failed to produce a script for her because I'm like, you've done it so many times, you can wing this. So she's going to wing it. It's going to be beautiful. And I left my teleprompter clicker at home, and I have a backup, but this is my first time using it, and it's very sensitive. So if you just bear with me if I need to come up here and fix some things. Who knows how this morning's going to go, but isn't that the journey? That's the adventure, and we love it around here. So I invite you all to get grounded. Take a few deep breaths. And let's sink into some peace. It's such a beautiful morning out there, and you chose to come be in this cave. So let's remember why we're here, and just come as you are, aching, tired, joyful, or seeking. Here, we are woven together in love. Set down what you carry and let this be a place of rest. Here, we are held in hope and mercy. Be present to yourself, to each other, and to the divine life that flows through all things. Here, together, we find the common thread of divine life that connects us all. This common thread of divine life in which we live and move and have our being, our God, who is lover, beloved, and love overflowing. Amen.
Why do you stay in prison when the door is wide open?
My family did. I am not the voices in my head. I am not the pieces of the brokenness inside. I am light. I am light. I am light.
the mistakes that I have made, or any of the things that cause me pain. I am not the pieces of the dream I left behind. I am light. 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 I am not the color of my eyes. I am not the skin on the outside. I am not my age. I am not my race. My soul inside is all light. It's all light. I am 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 divinity defined. I am the God on the inside. I am a star, a piece of it I am light.
All right, well, here we go, winging it. Welcome and good morning. We are so glad to have you here with us on this, like Sue said, this beautiful morning, and you have come into this cave with us, so we are so delighted to have you here. And so welcome. If you are a newcomer or an old-timer, someone who used to come years ago or has come every week, if you found us online or stumbled in off the street, we are so glad that you are here. And we would love to have you know more about us if you want to. So if you want to, there is a QR code here that you can scan, and scanning that will trigger a zero pressure email to be sent to you with just a little bit of more information about us. And I believe in that email is an option, if you want to connect with a live human being to learn a little bit more about us. And if you really want to get to know what we're about, the places where we shine, the places where we fall short, but mostly just how transformation is the goal for each of us on this spiritual journey. Connecting with someone is a really beautiful way to go about doing that. And so that QR code can connect you with all sorts of good information and even better people. And then next slide. Yep. And an even more heartfelt welcome if you are here today and you are struggling. If your heart is heavy, we are so glad that you are with us, and we have support systems in place to help you navigate those times. So today, after the lesson, down the hall In the library, we will have a listener, someone who is trained to just hold space for you, listen to you, offer a shoulder to cry on, an ear to listen, hand to hold if you need it. I believe our listener today is Cherie, is that right? So she's back there manning the booth right now, but again, after the service, she'll be down the hall, and she would love to be there for you, hold space for you. And there's also a QR code on this screen as well, and if you click on that, you will get connected with Morgan, and she can help you sort of get connected to resources that can also help you if you are having a hard time. So the community has lots of ways to offer support, because we know that doing this journey together takes us so much farther than we could ever go by ourselves. So we lean deep into community here. And so now let's say together what we do every week. If you are here, you belong.
If you are here, you belong.
And we are, every one of us, carriers of the inner light.
We are, every one of us, carriers of the inner light.
And we are, every one of us, carriers of divine breath.
We are, every one of us, carriers of divine breath.
And so, being carriers of inner light and divine breath, I invite you all now to stand and greet one another and welcome each other.
So good to catch up with each other. We're going to continue with another song. And your voice is needed in a different way now.
Gentle hush.
Everything is sacred.
Everything is sacred.
Everything is filled with the divine. Everything is alive with
Spirit, with Spirit.
everything is a wonder.
Everything is a wonder.
Unfolding
Right before our eyes. Everything is alive with Spirit, with Spirit.
Everything is a blessing.
Everything is a blessing.
Bursting
From the earth and sky, everything is alive with Spirit, with Spirit.
Everyone is sacred.
Everyone is sacred.
Everyone is filled with the
divine. Everyone is alive with Spirit, with Spirit.
Everything is sacred.
Everything is sacred.
Everything is
Filled with the divine. Everything is alive with Spirit, with Spirit.
everything is a wonder.
Everything is a wonder.
Unfolding
handed away the clicker. There it goes. Okay. On the screen are just a few ways that you can connect in the community coming up. I am not going to read through all of them, but there they are. And in a minute, I will tell you about where you can find this again. But we're going to move on to our featured announcement. And our featured announcement this week is the Fall Self-Awareness Retreat. And I was asked yesterday if I would be the hype man for this. And I thought that was funny because when you enter the Well of Mercy, there's a sign. And what does it say? Like, welcome to the quiet or something? It says, welcome to the quiet. So I was like, okay, I'll be the hype man for the quiet place. But it really is, it is such a beautiful experience, 4 days at the Well of Mercy. And it is called the Self-Awareness Retreat, and that is truth in advertising. We will spend a portion of our time together really digging into the worksheet, understanding it, having time to practice being both the doer and the listener, the person that holds space for the person who's bringing the incident. But there is so much more. There is time in nature. I took the most beautiful walk last year during the free time. We had a few hours, and I decided I was going to go for a little hike. There's a beautiful river on the in the space, and so I started walking. And at one point, I was like, "Actually, the river looks pretty accessible. Like, I think I can get down in it." And I got down in the river, and then I literally walked for like a mile and a half in the river, and it was delightful, and I felt like a 6-year-old or a 7-year-old. I ripped my pants because I was walking in a part that I probably maybe shouldn't have been walking in. There were down trees and twigs, but it was so delightful to just be fully embodied in nature, to trust my sort of longings and curiosities, to get messy. So, I mean, that was beautiful. The community aspect, just being together with other people, really getting to have some intentional communal time with one another. In the evening, we have Vespers with beautiful music and chanting. In the morning, we have, if you want, there's some light yoga, there's Qigong, and I think I said that right, and just so many beautiful opportunities to really nourish your body, your soul, your mind, your heart, and to do that in the company of really beautiful other people. So there are still a few spots available, so I would highly, highly, highly encourage if you can make the time to take the time. So that is our featured announcement. And then, so like I said, if you missed any of the what's coming up in the community, there are always ways to connect with us. There's the Church Center app that you can download and have on your phone, the website, and then the weekly email that comes out on Thursday. So there you go. You don't need this.
So there we go. While I'm making sure that my tech doesn't betray me here, which it's about to, so let me fix this. I also wanted to mention there's somebody here in the room who went to the Will Mercy a couple years ago and came back with a kitten, and so you never know. And that kitten's name is Mercy, of course. I'm not going to out the person, but the person is here. I'm so glad to see that person here. I'm glad to see all of you here. Pardon me. Telling you, this is a very sensitive, it's not my usual one. All right, come on now. There we go. That's what we need. Okay. So yes, it is good to be back here with all of you and up here and talking today. And I'm really grateful to everybody who made it possible for me to just take a little bit of time off, but you know, it was a dual purpose thing. You got to hear some wonderful voices while I was away, and I'm so grateful for that. I feel like this could be a July tradition eventually. Remember, we do things the first time, it's an innovation. The second time, it's a custom. So in 2027, it'll be a tradition, and that's what we always do, hear from fresh voices in July. Actually, we have no idea what July 2027 is going to look like, but we'll see when we get there. But I was very heartened by all of it. And it was a good, I will say that July, people have asked me how my time was. Let's say it didn't go quite the way I'd hoped it would. But that's okay. Even though I didn't get what I wanted, I got what I needed, I think. This ancient prayer that we're going to do here for our contemplative practice this morning, the English rendition of the Aramaic version of the Lord's Prayer, which you might remember we did a few months ago here. One of the lines that's translated is, "Grant what we need each day in bread and insight." And it feels about right for me because I did get what I needed in food and insight, and I thought more consciously about my food. And that made me find even deeper wells of compassion for the people right now who don't have it. I felt the cords of my own mistakes tugging at me, which is referencing another line in the prayer. I screwed up this month a few times, and I had the opportunity to let those ties be loosened, and I had the chance to know what forgiveness is, and also to forgive. So I went deeper than the surface a little bit, sometimes deeper than the depths I think that I sometimes know, and somewhere down there I did find my sense of purpose being renewed. I was able to let go of my hoped-for vacation outcomes, and because I was able to do that, I am able to see that I still got what I needed. And so I'm back. I'm not just recharged, but I'm regrounded, and I am so happy to be here with all of you because this month, my hope is that we are going to remember who we are. And we're going to see how deep we can do this together as a community that's rooted in what's real. So I'd like to invite us to begin by coming home to ourselves, and I invite you to get comfortable. Go ahead and take 3 long, deep breaths. I want to just ask you all to do something we don't usually do at the beginning, but I want you to hum. Just follow me. I invite you to do that again. Humming, like singing, stimulates our parasympathetic nervous system. It helps us to know that we are safe. So I invite you one more time to hum. Feel your feet on the floor. Steady. Supported. I invite you to bring your attention to your belly, to your gut. This is your center of groundedness and instinct. Now, see if without losing the attention that you brought to your belly, you can expand it into your chest, your heart, your lungs, this center of love and compassion within you. Those 2 centers online, see if you can allow that attention to rise into your head, the space of thought and awareness. See if you can be aware of all 3 centers online. gut, your heart, and your head. And just be present. Breathe into that wholeness, the wholeness that is you. Breathe into your belly. And exhale. Let that breath carry away tension, noise, and distraction. Continue breathing. Now, from this place of coherence, from this place of being here, I'll speak the ancient words of the prayer that shaped Jesus' life. Words that awaken the deep wisdom within us. And as I do it, if you feel so moved, I invite you to hum. When I'm done with the prayer, I will invite you to sing. Abund Bashmaya, O birther, father, mother of the cosmos. You create all that moves in light. Focus your light within us and make it useful as the rays of a beacon show the way. Create your reign of unity now through our fiery hearts and willing hands. Your one desire then acts with ours, as in all light, so in all forms. Grant what we need each day in bread and insight, subsistence for the call of growing life. Loose the cords of mistakes binding us as we release the strands we hold of others' guilt. Don't let surface things delude us. But free us from what holds us back from our true purpose. From you is born all ruling will, the power and life to do. The song that beautifies all, from age to age it renews. Truly, power be to these statements. May they be the source from which all my actions grow. Amen.
Allah, Allah, Elohim Elad. 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 Allah, Allah,
him remind us that our kids aren't just smaller people downstairs learning how to be the church or the society of the future. They're already profound teachers, living, breathing reminders of who we really are deep down. And then we still see the spark of something that's still in us, that bone-deep knowing of how to trust, how to laugh without shame, cry without apology, and belong to the whole universe without trying so hard. Our children, our teens, they show us something our grown-up, rational, worried minds so easily forget. We were born for wisdom. Now, we may not think of our children as wise, but spend a little time with one of them and you'll see. Being closer to the source, they possess a deep kind of knowing, a way of being that hasn't completely forgotten a truer way to live. One that's open, honest, uninhibited, and full of life. And I've been thinking about this lately, especially as a parent myself, remembering my own children's wisdom in their youth and holding space now for their disillusionment in adulthood. See, just last month, we celebrated my elder son's 30th birthday. He's not married, he's not seeing anybody, and he doesn't plan on having kids. And my younger son, who, when he was little, used to answer when somebody asked him, "What do you want to be when you grow up?" with "a dad," well, he's changed his mind too. And this is not uncommon in their generation. And while I have heard some older folks in my world judge this sentiment as apathy or selfishness, I don't see it that way at all. My sons have both told me in different ways that raising kids in this world just feels to them impossible. That's not because they don't want children, although not wanting them would be a perfectly valid desire. And it's not because they wouldn't be good parents. I happen to think they would be excellent parents. But having kids is not on their radar because, from their perspective, this world we have built makes raising a family an uphill fight every step of the way. Their lives are hard enough already, and the world they're inheriting, climate chaos and financial stressors, democracy on life support, it's all pretty fragile. Add to that a culture of disconnection that often isolates rather than supports families, and it makes sense that for many people these days, having kids doesn't seem possible. And while there are plenty of folks, some of you right here in this room, who have courageously chosen to do this hard thing, to raise families today in a culture that in so many ways doesn't support this sacred work, there's still this generational shift away from doing this hard thing. And it's one that I don't see as self-centered or apathetic. I see it as grief. I see it as longing. And I see it as clarity. Because somewhere in my kids, and others like them, somewhere in all of us, we still know in our bodies and in our bones that we were made for something more real than these shallow rhythms of modern life that we inhabit. And that knowing, that's wisdom. It's what we might call primal wisdom. And primal wisdom is not some lofty mystical ideal reserved for gurus and monks. It's simply our internal compass, our felt sense of what is good and life-giving. And if we listen, it tells us that life as we know it in this culture shouldn't be this hard, that disconnection isn't natural, that something deep in us remembers another way of being with each other, another way of being human. So last month, while I had a little downtime, I spent some of it reflecting on the themes we've unpacked here this year and how they've all circled around one central question: what does it mean to be human? And this question of what it means to be human feels especially important in these increasingly nutty times, when everything around us is falling apart. Who will we be in the midst of it all? And I can hardly think of a better place than this room to ask this question. Because if there's one thing this community knows something about, it's what happens when things fall apart. We've lived it. We've watched old forms crack open in our lives, in our relationships, in our faith, and in this very church. For decades now, Common Thread, or NRCC, has been a space for that kind of honest work. It's been a home for belonging, for healing, for spiritual courage. And it's been a place to take apart the frameworks that have distorted the heart of Jesus' message, a place for what we have called deconstruction. Not to throw everything away, but to sift through the rubble for what still pulses with life. And what's on the other side of deconstruction? Well, the easy answer would be reconstruction. Build something new. Replace the old with the new. But even our best reconstructions eventually harden. They become boxes again, tidy frameworks that may start out helpful until they tighten, until they become fortresses that close us off from mystery again. So I don't think reconstruction is the point. I think remembering is. When I say remembering, I'm not talking about remembering as recalling facts with our brains, but remembering. A sacred act of putting ourselves back together, reconnecting the parts of us that have been scattered or exiled by fear, by shame, and by forgetting. It's about reweaving our wholeness and coming home to what has always been true, deep in our bodies, in our breath, in our belonging to each other, remembering who we really truly are, people born for wisdom. And this wisdom, this primal wisdom, is earthy, it's relational, and it's as close as your breath. What it is a deep attunement to yourself, to others, to the living world, and the divine flowing through it all. Tethered by what some might call conscience, this wisdom gently points us toward what is good, kind, and just. And you don't have to earn this wisdom or chase it down. You don't need to grow old or go to school to get it. You remember it. It's your birthright. It's who you were before the world taught you to forget. But how did the world teach us to forget? And if wisdom is our birthright, why, in spite of our best efforts, do we find this deep attunement so elusive? Why do we keep feeling disconnected from others, from the sacred, from ourselves? Well, friends, a big part of the reason is the story our culture has told for centuries about what being good means. You see, Western culture has long taught that being good means following rules, suppressing feelings, and overriding instincts with reason and willpower. There's Plato's idea of reason taming unruly passions, Augustine's doctrine of original sin, Calvin's suspicion of the human will, the Puritans' distrust of pleasure. The thread runs deep. And during the Enlightenment, as Western society was shifting into a new era, this guy, Immanuel Kant, one of the most influential thinkers of his time, whose thinking still shapes much of our culture today, tried to imagine a morality that didn't depend on guardrails like kings or churches to impose it. What would goodness look like, he wondered, in a diverse, pluralistic world. Well, in his book, Groundwork for the Metaphysics of Morals, Kant insisted that true morality meant doing what's right just because it's right. Not because we feel led to nurture what's life-giving, not because our hearts are moved by love, but because it's simply our obligation. In Kant's framework, emotions were unreliable. Instincts, not to be trusted. Compassion, completely optional. What mattered most was reason and will. And I think we all know that vision shaped Western religion too, turning the notion of morality into a checklist of do's and don'ts, and turning Christians into people who hear Jesus' call to become like little children as a reminder that we don't know any better. And so, we must obey a demanding Heavenly Father that we might one day enter his kingdom. And if the faith systems we grew up in depended on us white-knuckling our way through life in the hopes of receiving a prize at the end, well, of course we feel disconnected. Of course we carry guilt and shame when we fall short inside a system that tells us being good is about following impossibly rigid rules imposed from on high. Of course, when we are told to look outside us for what is right and good, we will forget to trust the innate wisdom for which we were born. But even in our forgetfulness, something in us knows better. And back in June, I mentioned a contemporary philosopher who was helping us remember what we've mostly forgotten. So Professor Darsha Narvaez, whose work anchors this series this month, spent years inside the old model of moral psychology. Influenced, like most of her peers, by Kantian philosophy, she taught that morality was mostly about reasoning, making good choices, using willpower, and explaining right from wrong. She trained educators to assess moral development in children by measuring logic, testing answers, and ranking clarity in their responses. But over time, Narvaez began noticing a disconnect between the data derived from the assessments and the lived behavior of the children she observed. In the lab, some subjects gave polished answers about moral dilemmas. They were able to quote rules identifying the right thing to do. But in real-life interactions, they didn't always show empathy or generosity. Meanwhile, some other kids who struggled to articulate moral reasoning in formal assessments consistently showed care in how they played, how they comforted a crying peer, how they shared without being prompted to do so, how they included others in their circles of play. The standard metric said they were developmentally behind, but their actions told a different story, one of embodied wisdom, of innate morality. So Narvaez dug deeper. She dug into neuroscience, anthropology, attachment theory, indigenous wisdom, and she found them all pointing in the same direction. Real moral life begins long before we can explain it. It actually grows in the womb, in the cradle, in the village. And it shows up in whether our small bodies learned to trust or to brace. Now, I know the word morality might sound a little jangly to our ears here at Common Thread, but Narvaez isn't talking about rule following here. She means something deeper, a way of being. How aligned we are on the inside, and how that alignment flows outward into the world. In her framework, morality, and immorality for that matter, are patterns that become wired in our bodies. They live in our nervous systems, in our hormones, and in our muscle memory. And they show up in whether we feel safe enough to cry, to laugh loudly, to be fully seen. This is why for Narvaez and for wisdom teachers across the ages, morality isn't a cold commandment from the outside. It's a living memory in ourselves, always calling us back to wholeness. And Narvaez calls this primal wisdom, the deep built-in baseline for our species. Not something we invented, but something we are. And something that awakens in us through the loving presence of others. From our earliest moments, this wisdom can be nurtured or neglected, depending on the community that surrounds us. Now, for most of human history, it was generally cultivated in warm, attuned networks of care. Care marked by affectionate touch, quick responsiveness to a crying baby, shared caregiving, free play, and communal storytelling. And Narvaez calls this the evolved nest, a nest shaping human hearts toward connection and care, and forming a living web of belonging that helped the next generation remember who they already were. And this is still the environment our bodies expect. For generation after generation, our nervous systems were shaped to thrive in warmth, safety, and community. Not perfectly, but authentically. But modern industrial life has messed with our wiring. This evolved nest has mostly been dismantled, replaced by bottle feeding on rigid schedules, babies in separate rooms, overstressed parents, hyper-individualism, frenetic productivity, and fragmented communities. Instead of learning to rest in belonging, most of us learned to earn it, to perform, to brace, to do whatever we had to do to stay safe. And of course, over time, these patterns feed back into society. Nervous systems shaped by fear create ecosystems shaped by fear. Ecosystems we might call modern empire. And whether we are talking about empire in the familiar sense of autocratic rule and centralized power, or in some of its modern forms, systems that hijack our desires, numb how we feel, and keep us moving too fast to notice, empire feeds on fear and disconnection. So in our lives today, empire piles on even more noise through endless distractions, a constant sense of urgency, and fostering the belief that we are never enough. And this leaves us all without some of the simplest things. We experience less touch, less time in creation, less freedom, less time with each other, less time to just be. So our hearts grow confused because we were not made for this. We were made for wonder. But where awe might arise in a majestic, quiet forest, we feel compelled to check our phones, worried we might not have signal. We were made for compassion, but when we see someone struggling on the street and feel their eyes trying to make contact with ours, we stare straight ahead, feeling the ache of lost connection with such neighbors and afraid there is nothing we can do for them. We search for the wisdom we've forgotten, scouring podcasts and self-help shelves, forgetting that wisdom has always been as close as our own breath. But Narvaez reminds us this primal wisdom still lives in us. Empire does everything it can to make us forget, but we can remember. And that remembering, that return to trust, compassion, and connection is exactly what Jesus was pointing us back to in his own teachings. He lived in a world more familiar with the lived experience of an evolved nest, yes, but also under the thumb of a brutal empire, one that fractured connection and demanded loyalty through fear, one that burdened its people with heavy taxes, divided them by class and purity codes, crucified those who stepped out of line, and told them this was God's will. But Jesus kept pointing beyond all that, reminding people of what their bodies still knew, that compassion, mercy, and trust aren't lofty ideals. They are the natural outflow of a heart in tune with the real, one that's grounded, connected, and inwardly free from anything empire tries to impose from the outside. The kingdom is within you, Jesus says, and also he says, unless you become like little children, you cannot enter the kingdom of heaven. Not because we owe God the Father an externalized obedience to moral precepts so that we can get into heaven, but because it's just true. A reality that might be heard in Jesus' native language of Aramaic as something like this. Unless you soften and return to the primal wisdom of a small child, trusting, curious, fully here, you will not find your way into the flow of sacred unity that is already in you, moving through and around you. And today, modern science is backing Jesus up. You see, too often we're told science and spirituality are incompatible, that we must pick one or the other. Even here in this community, I've heard people say, I believe in science, not the Bible. But maybe it helps to see that this isn't really an either-or proposition. In fact, the word religion, from the Latin religio, simply means to bind back together what has been torn apart. And science, from scientia, means knowledge, rooted in a deeper sense of conscious understanding, a knowing with. And when religion and science are at their best, honoring mystery, held in curiosity, bringing things back into wholeness, they both point us back to this deeper truth. Wisdom isn't learned from the outside in, it rises from within, an ancient knowing we've carried all along. And if we're really going to live into it, we need to live into it together. And this is where I hope this series takes us, into the invitation wisdom teachers have always offered and that science now affirms. That remembering, returning, rewiring, this isn't something we have to figure out from scratch. The wisdom we long for is already within us, just waiting to be remembered. We can soften old defenses, relearn trust, reclaim a deeper sense of compassion, presence, and connection. We can show the world a truer way to be human, a wiser, more joyful, more connected way. One that might over time begin to resemble something like an evolved nest right here among us. And maybe, just maybe, what feels impossible for some of us now might start to feel imaginable again. Because this wisdom, this primal wisdom of being connected, awake, and whole, is our birthright. In the weeks ahead, I am looking forward to remembering it with all of you. And so, Indwelling Divine, may we see glimpses of our original wisdom design this week. May we trust our bones and breath more than our fears. May we be gentle with our own hearts as we rewire, and may we remember that what we seek is already within us and among us. Amen. So this August, We're not just starting a new lesson series. This series accompanies an invitation for us all to begin a shared remembering. A 4-week-long journey not limited to an hour and a half each Sunday, not an online course, not an in-person class, not a self-improvement project, but a remembering. And also, admittedly, a beta test run for using Substack as a hub for us to connect online as a community throughout the week, even beyond this series. But for now, this is going to be something that evolves among all who participate as we go. I will ground it for us, but I want it to be something that rises from this community organically, not something I'm doing and you're consuming, but a remembering that we do together. So, if you'd like to join us in this deeper remembering, I invite you to click this QR code, and together we will enter into an as yet not fully formed shared rhythm throughout the week of small practices, reflections, meditations, conversations, and, if we decide it feels right to us, a wisdom circle gathering and communal meal at the end of the series after church on August 31st. And my hope is that what we enter into each week will help us ground our nervous systems daily, reconnect with the deeper knowing that is already in us, practice the kind of trust, compassion, and presence with each other that changes how we live, and to do it with each other. So you can join today or at any time during the month, and you can leave too. It's totally an opt-in proposition, open to everyone, but imposed on no one. There is no coercion in the spiritual life. But if you want to see what it might be like to walk this wisdom path together with intention, join us, and let's see what new arisings may be in store. And folks on the live stream, this would be a great way for you to be in connection with us this month, and thank you for joining us this morning. If you are new to our live stream, we want you to know that we have a pretty robust remote community that not only watches these services every week, but gets together after the service to talk about what they experienced, to talk about the lesson, to talk about the service, to talk about what's going on in their lives and the world. And they would love to have you join them. So if you are watching us live on Sunday morning, we invite you to click in the comment section below the video the link that says, "What are you thinking?" It's a Zoom call, and it'll take you there. You'll need a code to get in, 1417, and you will find, did I just see Scott go out again? Scott is here in the room, but he's leading the online What Are You Thinking? So he's going to open the room for you. So go on in and join, and the folks there would just love to have you join them and be part of our remote community. And if you're watching at another time during the week, which a lot of folks do, then there is another link and a comment beneath that one, which just gives you the opportunity to opt into another newcomer email, not dissimilar to the one that Melissa mentioned earlier, but this email has a bit more remote specificity. So if you want to know more about us, feel free to click on that. And I'd like to say before we go, Melissa, you did a great job. Thank you, winging it earlier. And so like with this, let's put our hands on our hearts and dismiss our friends on the live stream, remembering that this primal wisdom lives deep within us. It is there, it speaks to us, and we are called to nurture it and to share it with the rest of the world. And hopefully that is just what we're going to be doing week by week. So to honor that, let's extend our other hand out to our city and to our world, remembering that what is in us is what we are called to share with everyone with whom we live, with whom we work, with whom we go to school, everyone we encounter, taking seriously our charge to be healers and repairers of our world. Amen. Folks on the live stream, God bless you. You are dismissed. Folks in the room, I invite you to take a few moments to get grounded and see if you can get in touch with what you are sensing and feeling before we talk about what we are thinking.